A biting wind swept through the vast Sierra Madre mountains, carrying with it ancient tales of the ghost mine, rumored to be hidden deep in a remote canyon near the Mexican border. These stories had been whispered for decades, but few dared to investigate. Randall "Ramp" Jones, a solitary former soldier and seasoned prospector, spurred his horse through the desolate landscape. He was on the trail of two missing prospectors, a father and son, who had ventured into the very canyon where the ghost mine was said to reside. Their last message, sent by carrier pigeon, spoke of finding a rich vein, but also of strange sounds and a growing sense of dread. Ramp usually scoffed at local superstitions. He trusted his pickaxe, his rifle, and his own sharp instincts. But the utter silence that now permeated the canyon as he approached the suspected location of the mine gave him pause. No birds, no insects, just the eerie moan of the wind through the jagged rock formations. He found their camp easily. A hastily abandoned fire pit, a few provisions scattered about, and a half-dug trench leading into the side of the mountain. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just a deep, chilling emptiness. As he peered into the dark maw of the mine, a faint, rhythmic humming seemed to emanate from its depths. It wasn't mechanical, but a low, vibrating sound that seemed to resonate in his very bones. And then he heard them. Faint, sibilant whispers, too numerous to distinguish, seemingly carried on the subterranean air currents. They spoke in no language he knew, yet they filled his mind with an unsettling sense of longing and profound sorrow. He pulled out his lantern and lit it. The flickering light barely pierced the absolute darkness within. The air grew impossibly cold, a chilling dampness that seeped through his heavy coat, far colder than the mountain winds outside. He felt a pervasive sense of dread, a feeling that tightened around his chest, making it hard to breathe. Suddenly, from the depths of the mine, the humming intensified, growing into a low, resonant thrum that vibrated the very ground beneath his feet. The whispers swelled into a chilling chorus, now clearer, more distinct, seeming to form fragmented, desperate words. Taken, joins, ours. Ramp gripped his rifle, his knuckles white. This was no ordinary mine accident. This was something ancient, something that lured men into its depths and never let them go. And it was waiting for him. Ramp stepped into the absolute darkness of the ghost mine, the humming growing louder, a deep thrum that vibrated through the rock walls and resonated in his chest. The chilling whispers enveloped him, a relentless chorus of sorrowful, longing voices that seemed to try and draw him deeper. The oppressive cold of the mine was bone deep, sucking the warmth from his body. His lantern cast an inadequate glow, barely pushing back the profound darkness. He walked cautiously, his boots crunching on loose rock and what felt like dry, desiccated earth. The air was heavy, thick with a strange metallic scent, like old iron and stale blood. As he ventured further, he noticed a faint, ethereal blue glow emanating from the walls themselves. It pulsed softly, outlining shimmering veins of an unknown mineral, beautiful yet profoundly unsettling. It wasn't a reflection of his lantern. It was an internal light, alive. The whispers seemed to coalesce around these glowing veins, as if drawn to them. He reached a cavern where the glowing veins were most prominent, crisscrossing the walls like intricate, luminous webs. In the center of the cavern lay the missing prospector's mining gear, picks, shovels, and empty canvas bags, all covered in a fine layer of dust. But no sign of the men themselves. Then, from within the pulsing blue glow of the cavern walls, he saw them. Faint, shimmering forms, barely visible against the luminous rock, twisting and writhing as if trapped within the very mineral. They were elongated, spectral figures, vaguely humanoid, their faces distorted in silent anguish. These were the missing prospectors, and countless others, their essence somehow absorbed by the glowing veins. They were the source of the whispers, their ethereal forms seeming to reach out, begging for release. The humming intensified, now sounding almost like a mournful song. The whispers grew louder, clearer, no longer fragmented, but a chilling invitation. Stay, belong, become. The blue glow pulsed stronger, and tendrils of luminous energy seemed to reach out from the veins towards Ramp, trying to draw him in. He felt a pull, a strange sense of resignation, as if the cold and the whispers were slowly draining his will, tempting him to simply give in, to become one with the glowing rock. He gripped his rifle, its solid weight a stark contrast to the ethereal horror surrounding him. He knew now why no bodies were found. These men hadn't just died, they had been absorbed. He had to find a way to break the hold of this mine, to free the trapped souls, or risk becoming another shimmering figure in the cold blue glow. He had to find a weakness, a way to disrupt the very essence of the ghost mine. Ramp fought against the draining lethargy that the glowing veins and chilling whispers imposed. The spectral forms trapped within the blue light writhed, their silent anguish a powerful, beckoning force. The humming of the mine resonated in his bones, a constant drone threatening to lull him into an eternal slumber. He knew he couldn't fight an ethereal entity with bullets, nor could he outrun a spiritual prison. He needed something else, something that could disrupt the very fabric of the ghost mine. He remembered old tales from frontier trappers, stories of cold iron or blessed steel being able to ward off certain unholy things. It was a long shot, but it was all he had. He scanned the cavern, his eyes darting across the ghostly forms and the pulsing blue veins. His gaze fell upon a pile of discarded mining tools near the center. Among the rusted shovels and broken pickaxes, he saw it, a heavy iron mining bar, exceptionally thick and long, blackened with age but still solid. It radiated a cold, almost inert energy, different from the chilling glow of the mine. He lunged for the iron bar, ignoring the increased intensity of the whispers that screamed in his mind. As his fingers wrapped around the cold iron, he felt a faint jolt, a slight disruption in the overwhelming dread. The spectral forms in the walls seemed to recoil slightly, and the blue glow around him flickered. It was working. The iron, uncorrupted by the mine's essence, seemed to repel or disrupt the entity. He raised the heavy iron bar, its weight comforting in his hands. He looked at the vast glowing network of veins that pulsed with the trapped souls. He had to break them, to shatter the very prison that held them. He aimed for a particularly large, brightly glowing vein that seemed to be at the heart of the cavern's network. He swung the iron bar with all his might, bringing it down on the glowing vein. The impact was deafening. There was no metallic clang, but a horrifying rush of tortured energy, like countless voices tearing themselves apart. The entire cavern flashed with an intense, blinding blue light, momentarily overwhelming his senses. The humming of the mine stopped abruptly, replaced by a sudden, jarring silence. The whispers transformed into a chaotic, piercing wail of pure agony and confusion, echoing from the fractured veins. The spectral forms within the walls began to contort violently, their ethereal bodies rippling, dissolving, and reforming in chaotic bursts of light. He had struck a nerve, shattered the core of the ghost mine's power. But the battle was far from over. The immense energy unleashed by his strike was destabilizing the entire mine. Dust and small rocks rained down from the ceiling, and the sound of straining timbers groaned ominously from deeper within the mountain. He felt the ground tremble beneath his feet. He had awakened something far more powerful than he intended, and now the entire mountain was reacting. He had to finish this, and get out, before the mine became his eternal grave. Ramp continued his assault on the glowing veins with the iron bar, each strike sending a wave of agony through the spiritual entity trapped within the mine. The screeches of tortured energy and the chaotic wailing of the trapped souls filled the air, a cacophony of spectral pain. The entire cavern pulsed with an erratic, blinding blue light, alternating with absolute darkness. The mine, however, was fighting back. The impacts on the glowing veins were causing massive instability. The ceiling above him began to crack visibly, spider-webbing fissures spreading across the rock face. Dust and larger rocks rained down constantly, forcing Ramp to dodge and weave while still swinging the heavy iron bar. He could feel the mountain itself groaning, a deep, resonant sound that vibrated through the soles of his boots. Ancient timbers groaned and splintered, and the sound of heavy rockfalls echoed from deeper within the tunnels, cutting off potential escape routes. The air grew thick with rock dust, making it hard to see and breathe. He aimed for the largest remaining sections of the glowing blue veins, bringing the iron bar down with desperate fury. With each shattering blow, more of the trapped spectral forms seemed to dissolve into shimmering mist, their wails fading into nothingness. The power of the ghost mine was diminishing, but its physical structure was paying the price. Suddenly, a massive section of the cavern ceiling directly above him collapsed with a deafening, thunderous roar. Ramp threw himself to the side, narrowly avoiding being crushed by tons of falling rock. The impact sent a powerful shockwave through the cavern, knocking him off his feet. He lay there for a moment, stunned, covered in dust and grit. When he slowly pushed himself up, he saw that the main network of the glowing veins was largely shattered, their blue light now faint and sporadic. The agonizing wails had subsided to a faint, mournful whisper, a final echo of countless souls being released, or perhaps utterly destroyed. The mine was silent now, save for the ominous creaking and groaning of its collapsing structure. The oppressive cold had lifted, replaced by a suffocating heat rising from the deep. Ramp looked towards the distant glimmer of daylight. What he hoped was the mine entrance. He had defeated the entity, but he was trapped in a crumbling tomb. He grabbed the iron bar again, its weight a familiar comfort, and began to run, scrambling over the treacherous piles of rubble. He had to get out before the mountain claimed him too. Ramp scrambled through the collapsing tunnels, the heavy iron bar in hand, its inert cold a small comfort against the intense heat and dust. The entire mountain was shuddering, groaning like a dying beast. Behind him, the main cavern roared as it completely gave way, sending a powerful gust of wind and dust hurtling through the narrow passages. He pushed his battered body, lungs burning, heart hammering against his ribs. The flickering light from his lantern, which he'd managed to retrieve, danced wildly, illuminating the rapidly shifting ground and the constant rain of dust and small rocks. The timbers holding up the tunnel walls were snapping like matchsticks, and the very air vibrated with the immense pressure. He came to a section of the tunnel where a massive rockfall had completely blocked the main path. His heart sank. He was trapped. He frantically scanned the collapsing walls, looking for any way out. Then he spotted it. A narrow, almost impossibly tight fissure in the rock face, barely wide enough for a man to squeeze through. It looked unstable, but it was his only chance. He dropped the heavy iron bar, knowing he couldn't carry it through such a tight space. He took a deep breath, sucked in the dusty air, and began to squeeze himself into the crevice. The rock scraped against his body, tearing his clothes and skin. He pushed, grunted, and strained, inching his way through the suffocating darkness, the sounds of the collapsing mine deafening behind him. He could hear the distinct, terrifying sound of the tunnel he had just been in fully caving in, a final, earth-shattering roar that shook the very ground beneath him. He was truly running on borrowed time. After what felt like an eternity of desperate pushing and crawling, he felt the cool, fresh air on his face. He pushed one last time and tumbled out of the fissure, landing hard on the dusty ground outside. He was out. He was alive. He lay there for a moment, gasping, coughing up dust. He looked back at the mountain. The narrow fissure he had emerged from was already beginning to seal itself, large rocks tumbling into place, as if the mountain itself sought to bury its secrets once and for all. The main mine entrance was now completely gone, replaced by a solid wall of rock and debris. The ghost mine was sealed, its whispers silenced. Ramp slowly pushed himself up, his body bruised, battered and covered in grime. He looked at the vast, silent canyon around him, bathed in the soft light of the rising moon. The oppressive dread was gone. The chilling cold had dissipated. The only sound was the gentle, natural whisper of the wind through the sagebrush. He had faced the terrifying secrets of the ghost mine, and he had emerged victorious, though forever marked by what he had witnessed. Ramp Jones left the now silent Gold Canyon, a place purged of its haunting whispers and chilling cold. He never looked back, riding hard until he reached the nearest populated settlement. He reported the mine's collapse, giving a plausible, if incomplete, account of a catastrophic structural failure. He kept the true tale of the glowing veins and the trapped souls to himself, a grim secret he knew no one would believe, and few would ever want to hear. The ghost mine remained a topic of local legend, but its malevolent power was gone. Prospectors and adventurers eventually stopped venturing into that particular canyon, preferring to avoid its bad luck and the unsettling silence that still clung to it. The occasional rumor of strange lights or faint whispers would surface, but they were distant echoes, nothing like the pervasive dread that had once permeated the place. Ramp, though he survived, was forever changed. The horrors of the ghost mine had etched themselves into his soul. He found himself more solitary than ever, seeking solace in the vast empty spaces of the desert. He carried the memory of the spectral forms, their silent pleas, and the deafening shriek as they were shattered. He learned to trust his instincts more than ever, especially when faced with an unnatural silence or an inexplicable cold. He eventually returned to prospecting, but never in mines. He preferred the open air, the honest work of panning for gold in riverbeds, or searching for surface veins. He learned to respect the land, understanding that some places held ancient, dark secrets that were best left undisturbed. Sometimes on cold, still nights, when the wind moaned just so through the canyon walls, Ramp would swear he could hear a faint, distant humming or a fleeting whisper carried on the wind. It was a ghost of a sound, a memory that would send a shiver down his spine. But it was just that, a ghost, not a threat. The ghost mine's power was broken, its dark essence contained. Ramp Jones lived out his days as a quiet, watchful man, a hidden guardian of the frontier's untold horrors. He was a testament to survival, a man who had faced the unexplainable and walked away, forever carrying the burden and the unique wisdom of the whispers from the ghost mine.